Morning is just one of the songs that won Grammy honors for Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band back in 1968. The album marked a big change for the Beatles and for rock music. To honor its 50th anniversary, Mark Phillips has revved up the old turntable.
Right from the first ka-thump of stylus hitting vinyl and into the instrumental run into the first track, you knew the world would never be the same.
It was 20 years ago today. Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play. They've been going in the...
It was 50 years ago this month, actually, that Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band won 4 Grammys, including Album of the Year.
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
But the album did more than win awards and set sales records. It divided time between the world before Sgt. Pepper and the world after.
I read the news today, oh boy. 4,000 holes in Blackburn, Lancashire.
It was more than just a different kind of album cover full of famous people. It was a different kind of album, the concept album.
For the benefit of Mr. Kite, there will be a show tonight.
Performed by a different kind of band.
There hasn't been this much excitement at the London airport since man learned to fly.
It was a band that couldn't hear itself think, let alone play, over the screaming of its fans.
Paul, good evening.
A band, as Paul explained, that had to retreat to the recording studio to find itself again.
Performance for us. See, it's gone downhill, performance, because we can't develop when no one can hear us, you know what I mean? So for us to perform is it's difficult. So we're trying to get better with things like recording.
It's getting better all the time.
Like a champagne bottle plopping out of a cork, they were released from Beatlemania. They deliberately pulled themselves out of Beatlemania.
Giles Martin is the son of George Martin, the legendary Beatles producer and the man behind the technological inventiveness that took Sgt. Pepper to places pop music had never been. The urban legend, by the way, that Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds was code for LSD is another one of those Beatles stories that just won't die, even though the official version is that the song was based on a drawing done by John's son.
Did they know at the time that they had changed rock history?
I'm not sure if it was deliberate, but they wanted to do different things all of the time. You know, they wanted different sounds. They asked my dad, you know, how do you get this sound? Or how can we do this? And the conscious decision was, we don't want to be bored by what we're doing. It wasn't, how can we change the face of popular music? When I'm 64?
Yeah. Okay.
But that, of course, is exactly what they did. And Giles Martin, who's become a very successful music producer himself, has done a highly praised remix of the album at the surviving Beatles' request.
Many years from now.
Comparing the old and new versions can be a little 50 years on fun. And 50 years later, the remix has also topped the album charts.
What would you think if I sang any tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song and I'll try.
I must say, it's like turning back the hands of time 50 years kind of phrase, but it actually brings me back to places I'd rather not remember. But I prefer the remix.
I'll pay you.
Okay. Yeah.
Nostalgia aside, part of Sgt. Pepper's enduring appeal may be as much about when it was as what it was.
I think people look back now on the Summer of Love, 1967, the summer when Sgt. Pepper was #1. And out of every window came Sgt. Pepper. It was unbelievable. Everybody was doing the same thing at the same time. They had to hear this record.
Paul Gambaccini is a DJ, author, and walking pop music encyclopedia.
It came at a period when the Beatles could do no wrong. Everything they touched turned to gold, and you can explain it in terms of talent, certainly, but it also had a kind of cultural momentum.
The amusing thing is that although most people acclaimed it the moment of its release, the New York Times critic, Richard Goldstein, panned it.
Hated it.
Did I get it wrong? I think so.
Richard Goldstein now recants.
What I didn't pick up was where it was leading music. That decision to take music and blast all the framework that pop music had been encased in like a very tight girdle and just let it flow freely was incredibly influential on the counterculture and on the whole history of music.
Big enough for the chord?
Nothing flowed more freely than that endless final chord.
Would you like to switch?
Ooh.
This is where, yeah. these are your buttons. You have old and you have new.
Okay.
Old and new.
Getting to play with the most famous chord in rock and roll history doesn't happen often.
Wow.
There's just so much more. So much more.
And like its final chord, Sgt. Pepper, it seems, goes on forever.